Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to see some of you again, old friends. This is the 10-minute presentation, so I want to remind you all of the rules of the road. You have been asked back by the company. I'm assuming company, it could be a board of directors, it could be an NGO, it could be a governmental authority, but you've been asked back in any case to give your full presentation for a second visit, but to speak only about the ethical aspects of the problem and to explain why your solution successfully handles the ethical issues. You will have 10 minutes. There will be no Q&A, slides, or video, and you probably want to limit yourself to 2 or 3 members of the team. So I'm Ruth Kraft. As Tom said, I've been an Uber judge of this competition for 18 years. I think Stan has been with the competition even longer than I have. So this is our labor of love. And so for the University of St. Thomas, who is going to be presenting? You can raise your hands. Breonna and Amy. Okay, very good. And let me just get the timer. All of you know, who know me, how much difficulty I have with those blasted timers that Tom has, right? So we're going to the watch. It seems to work better. Okay. So you have 10 minutes and you can start now. And I think, Michael, you have to unmute Breonna.
Yeah, just 1 second, Ruth. Let me just move everybody else and then we'll get started.
And everyone else is about to disappear virtually.
Yes.
Hi, Kelly. Hi, Teresa.
All right. Sorry, I got to do it one by one.
Are you going to disappear too?
I can't make myself disappear, unfortunately, for y'all.
Powers. Okay. We just have to, I think we are good now.
All right.
Okay.
Spending time in nature is something we all need as humans, especially in the midst of today's uncertainty. Are we willing to risk an amazing wilderness area in the face of greedy interests? My name is Amy Davis. I'm here today with my colleague, Bree Clark. Thank you for having us back to discuss the ethical considerations of Twin Metals' proposed copper-nickel mine in northern Minnesota. Governor, we know you and your entire cabinet here today feel immense pressure from both sides of this conflict. As our government, you have a duty to protect people from harm. There's much to be gained or lost depending on your decision on this issue. As a child, I spent many summers in the Boundary Waters area, canoeing, hiking, and learning about nature. I greatly appreciate your time and attention to today's issue.
And my family was born and raised in northern Minnesota. They spent many years running a business in order to support our family. They knew that the Boundary Waters is our state's most treasured wilderness area. And Governor Walz, I'm sure you know this too. Hundreds of thousands of people visit the Boundary Waters every year in order to experience its natural wonders. And in many ways, it defines our state. But today, both the Boundary Waters and the health of present and future Minnesotans is at risk because of Twin Metals Minnesota. Twin Metals is a limited liability corporation that is really owned and operated by Antofagasta Minerals, a mining conglomerate based out of Chile, with a reputation that could rival Darth Vader and the Empire. And while Darth Vader may have had the Death Star, Twin Metals has a copper nickel mine they want to open just 5 miles outside the BWCA. And they could destroy everything with one mistake. Now they claim that an untested technology will help mitigate the risk of this project.
This technology is called dry stacking, and it's Twin Metals' proposed solution to the hazardous waste that the mine will generate. This technique essentially acts like a giant French coffee press, pressing the moisture from the waste and eliminating the need for a tailings dam. The waste can instead be stored in dry layers. However, as Bree mentioned, this technology is untested in Minnesota's often wet and humid climate. If this waste gets wet, it can leach 6 of the 10 metals that are damaging to human and wildlife health. These metals are known to cause respiratory issues and cancer. And this mine is situated in the watershed, which means these metals will get into the water supply. This violates the rights of the people living near the mine. They have a right to a healthy living environment. This land is also a source for overall well-being and a source of spiritual healing. The public has a right to this public land. This mine also puts wildlife species, several of which that are threatened, at unnecessary risk. Contamination from this mine could pollute the area for 500 years. We must consider the ethical rights of the people and the animals. This unproven technology is simply unacceptable.
And if the technology fails, who's liable? Twin Metals is a limited liability corporation, and if they decide to dissolve either before or after the mine closes, Antofagasta is legally in the clear and no longer liable for anything that happens at the mine or the dry stack facility. Now you may be wondering, could they really disappear on us? Shouldn't we give them the benefit of the doubt and trust that they will act with good character? If their past behavior is any indication of how they will behave in the future, the answer is a resounding no. Antofagasta's flagship mine in Chile is responsible for many toxic spills, the most serious occurring in 2009 when the mine dumped 13,000 liters of copper concentrate directly into the Chuapa River, leaving the community to deal with the aftermath. Additionally, the mine caused one of the biggest losses of cultural heritage in Chile's recent history when they excavated boulders bearing 2,000 petroglyphs and buried a cemetery and archaeological site just to make way for a tailings dam. When this is how they treat their own home, how could we possibly trust them with ours? Now, there is a permitting process in place to help hold Twin Metals accountable and ensure that when the metals are extracted, they do little damage to the environment. That part of this process involves a company submitting a project proposal and then it going to both a federal and state agency where they will create an environmental impact statement. This statement assesses the project's merit, potential alternatives, and any risk to the environment that it might cause. However, it fails to take into account the rights of Northern Minnesotans, both to the land and their health and well-being.
The reality is that Twin Metals doesn't care about Minnesota and they don't care about the boundary waters. They care about the $30 billion of profit that the mine will generate. Profit, I should mention, that will leave the community, leave the state, and leave the country as it heads back to its parent company, Antofagasta. Now, they claim that the jobs that the mine will bring will revitalize the region, but they completely ignore the research and the ethical implications of that research. That research is a 2019 Harvard University study which looked at the economic impacts of mining in the region. They found that in every single scenario, there was a boom-bust cycle that's extremely common with resource extraction economies. The area would see a period of temporary growth, followed by the slow and steady decline of an economic bust. This is exactly what happened in the oil fields of North Dakota. Now, what does this mean? It means those jobs are unreliable and unsustainable. Twin Metals is treating those workers as a means to an end, as the means to $30 billion of profit. Those workers deserve better. This is not the right industry for the region.
And industries in northern Minnesota have an ethical duty to the land. There is already robust recreation and tourism industries in the area that do their ethical duty, not only respecting the people and the land, but the wildlife that depends on it. Now, I mentioned earlier in this conversation that my family ran a business in northern Minnesota for many years. It was a logging operation that sustainably sourced lumber and allowed the trees to return and regrow to their natural state. This is the respect that industries in the area owe. Now, beyond the impact to the land that mining would have, it could also decimate the recreation and tourism industries. A recent study found that they could be impacted by as much as $280 million annually. Additionally, people in the area would see over $500 million in property value loss. Now, while these numbers are large and staggering, there is a component that we need to talk about that you cannot put a price on. Many of the families in northern Minnesota have been living there for generations, and their family's history and legacy is tied to this land. If Twin Metals destroys it, that is something that no job or amount of money could ever bring back.
We have some recommendations for your team. We recognize that copper and nickel are extremely valuable metals in today's society. They create electronics and solutions for clean energy. However, the technology currently does not exist to safely pull these metals out. We also believe that Twin Metals is not the right partner for this project. If Minnesota wants to pursue these metals, we recommend waiting for the right technology and the right partner. In the meantime, we want to create a long-term solution for the region. We recommend that the state pursue a public-private partnership by bringing a major corporate headquarters to the region, ideally one in the environmental industry, such as REI, North Face, or Patagonia. A company like this would respect the land, would reinvest in it, and would feature the existing recreation and tourism industries. A company like this would be a partner in prosperity, cultivating the values that are the legacy of northern Minnesota. This solution also bolsters the existing infrastructure in the region, such as the regional airport and the Port of Duluth, the largest port in the Great Lakes region, and create the technical jobs that workers are looking for. This solution eliminates the environmental and economic ethical issues we see with mining. And by bringing in an American company, it eliminates the legal risk we see with Antofagasta and Twin Metals.
So in conclusion, you can tell that this isn't the right industry or the right company for northern Minnesota. Teddy Roosevelt once said, "Do not let selfish men or greedy interests skin your country of its beauty, its riches, or its romance." If the risk is taken to let Twin Metals mine and the Boundary Waters is skinned of its worth, that is a wound that will never heal. Are we really going to risk this amazing wilderness area in the face of greedy interests? Thank you for your time and attention today, and we hope that you'll consider the risk and trust components of this issue in your decision making.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So Michael, are we now moving to METU for a 10-minute or?
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back and do the 90-second.
Yeah, I believe so. And I don't know if we want to do feedback between the two, but
There's typically no feedback in the
Okay.
90-second. There may be some feedback in the, do you have a little tech time here?
yeah, I just need to move people back
Okay.
on. So yeah, just
Okay.
1 second.
So now I've heard this presentation twice. Okay. And I like the fact that some of what you did here was a little bit different. The ending was exactly the same. But I thought there was some other information this time. I thought you went a little too deep into facts and should have spent more time on ethics. But you definitely raised the issue about risk, the duty to protect, the risk to species, and a variety of other things that were, you know, highly relevant. It's a complicated topic. It looks easy on the surface, but I can tell that when you reduced it down to 10 minutes, there was a lot of meat in there.
Yeah, I thought you did a very good job. The only thing I had to kind of jump out at me were the 3 companies that you recommended seem to all be recreation companies, and I don't know that they are a good comparison to the mining company, which is more of an industrial kind of operation.
Okay. Good morning,
Thank you for your feedback.
YAGMUR and CAGAN.
Thank you.
I hope I'm not butchering your names. And I guess where you are, it's not morning, it's afternoon or evening, correct?
Yeah, it's afternoon.
Afternoon. Okay. All right. So tell us the name of your presentation.
Well, our presentation is Incubation Center Making Employability and Inclusion Possible. It is basically a refugee incubation center.
Incubation for refugees? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, let me just take a look. All right, you have 10 minutes and you can begin now.
Thank you for inviting us to the stakeholder meeting, and thank you for your interest yesterday. I'd like to offer you a brief recap of the refugee issue in Turkey and our incubation center proposal. Turkey has received over 3.6 million refugees from neighboring war-torn Syria. This is a huge number when you consider the fact that the entire European Union has 2.3 million Syrian refugees. The large and sudden influx of refugees has created a number of socioeconomic problems that we covered in detail yesterday. This is why we have decided to start a nonprofit incubation center whose primary goal is job creation through fostering entrepreneurship. Our vision is to facilitate the social and economic integration of refugees into Turkish society. On a larger scale, we are trying to contribute to the idea of an inclusive society in accordance with the EU's Horizon 2020 framework. We differ from other incubation centers as we primarily focus on ethical and social impacts. Yesterday, we laid out our stakeholder map and explained the role of each stakeholder. I'd like to restate what is expected from them. As you can imagine, our primary need would be financing. Large entities such as the ministries, development agencies, and chambers of commerce could step up for this. Then there are international bodies such as the EU and the UNHCR that could also provide financial support on a different scale. However, I must state that financing alone will not be enough. We need intangible assets such as human capital and access to networking. For example, we would like our stakeholders to provide mentors, offer networking opportunities, and spread the word so that more people can hear about us. Now, I'd like to talk about the ethical principles that we have incorporated in our project. We have placed a strong emphasis on ethical standards. We must act with virtues such as kindness and compassion. Then we need our selection and incubation processes to be fair. In order to ensure fairness, we have implemented specific and measurable selection criteria such as entrepreneurial potential, degree of need, interview results, and education level. In addition to these criteria, we will make sure that we have an extra effort in order to reach more women, as they are unfortunately underrepresented in the refugee workforce. Moving on, we will not offer merely material benefits, but we will also be enhancing the social status of refugees, giving them an opportunity for self-fulfillment and self-actualization. In our benefit consideration, all stakeholders are taken into account, not just us or the refugees. Then we have identified two main duties. Duty of care, which means that we need to be working with skilled and experienced partners. And then we need to take precise and accurate action to get the best outcome. Duty of loyalty, which means we shall not betray trust. We will act according to the best interest of refugees and other stakeholders. The refugees have inalienable rights stemming from moral principles. These rights were later legally established by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the resolution of the International Refugee Convention of 1951. The rights that we have identified are right to life, liberty, security of person, the right to pursue happiness, right to autonomy. Let me go deeper in this one. The refugee tenants will have the final say regarding their business. Also, when they achieve financial independence, they will be safe from manipulation and exploitation. They will have more choices, and this will increase their confidence and hope for the future for themselves and their families. The right to decent work. Decent work includes insurance, social security, workplace safety, meaningful work, in other words, emotionally satisfying work, and finally, non-exploitative work. Then our final principle is accountability and transparency. This is very crucial for us as our activities will be carried out openly and stakeholders will not be kept in the dark. We will have robust mechanisms in place in order to prevent conflicts of interest. For example, we will monitor the business activities of tenants to ensure that they don't misuse the resources allocated for them. Of course, there will be some arguments against our project. Some locals might say, why are you helping foreigners instead of locals when locals also need help? This approach is logically false as it is simplifying a complex situation down to a false dichotomy. We firmly believe that this is not a zero-sum game and helping the refugees will yield positive results for the locals too in the long run. Now my partner will explain our solutions and how we address the concerns of our stakeholders.
And now I will explain how all stakeholders benefit from this program and why you should invest. Most of the Syrian refugees are unemployed and they are supported by taxpayer money. Before the war in Syria, these refugees were working as an employee or employer in the economy. But for almost 9 years, these people have been in refugee status, and most of them are not able to find work. While this problem caused a decrease in their abilities and capabilities for work, it also creates some hidden economic and social costs. Some of the social costs are rising crime rates, ethnic tensions, and social unrest. And economic costs are increased government expenditure, decrease in average wages, and taxes due to unrecorded and uninsured work. Additionally, this project will raise well-trained workers, and your organizations could later hire some of them. Therefore, you could think of this as a social investment as well. Also, there will be a reputational benefit of participating in an altruistic project like this. Of course, while doing so, we don't view the refugees as simply financial assets. We respect their autonomy and dignity, and we want to solve the problem of uninsured and forced labor and giving them better options. And these better options will help the refugees and their families have hope for the future. On a larger scale, economic well-being breeds peace in the region. While qualified and working refugees cause a decrease in crime rates, Europe will benefit from decreasing migration, since the immigrant crisis has been a major problem in European politics. In addition to that, migrated refugees will not be a burden to the economy anymore. Actually, they will be participating in it. Even if the refugees do go back to their country, this investment will not go to waste. It means the returning refugees will help rebuild Syria with their newly acquired skills and knowledge. This will create a spillover effect, which will positively impact the entire region. At the end of the day, all of our stakeholders will benefit from enhanced refugee well-being and a stronger Turkish economy. This is what they have in common. And we want to make sure that our investors do not worry about their money after they have invested. We will report it to them frequently, and in our reports, we will list our expenditures and our progress. And our progress metrics will be in the key performance indicators, which were included in yesterday's presentation, as you know. And all of these are in accordance with our key principle, which is accountability and transparency. And we know that ethical conduct will breed trust, and trust is a prerequisite in engaging in business. And to conclude, this project is deeply needed from an ethical standpoint, and we will produce a much desired ethical results at local, regional, national, and even international levels. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stan, do you have any quick comments before we go on to the 90 seconds?
I think you guys did a wonderful job, and I guess my only question is, from an ethical standpoint, was there consideration given to some mechanism to offer citizenship to these people in some place other than Syria?
Well, the thing is, the citizenship mechanism is beyond our control. The Interior Ministry decides who gets citizenship. And I think they have some prerequisite which states that they need to invest $250,000 US. So if they had that kind of money, they would not need our incubation center. So I don't think we can do such a thing.
Okay, thank you.
I think what was notable about this presentation is you spent the entire 10 minutes on ethics, as opposed to getting into the other issues. So you actually followed the instructions beautifully, and very, very interesting solutions, and you know, focused on the important issues such as autonomy, liberty. I thought you did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I agree. You touched on
You did it.
awful lot of ethical principles that we find are missing in some of these presentations.
I want to say me too, because that's the acronym of the university. Okay. All right. So Michael, you're going to now set us up for the 90-second. And
Yes, I am. 1 second here.
is it possible to put up the pictures of the two people who are going to present so I can give them the instructions together?
Sure, absolutely.
First and then divide it.
Yeah,
Which better for you?
No, that's fine. Which one of you guys is going to do the 90-second? Okay, so I'll keep you there. Move you off. Let's see. I'm not sure who's doing it from ST, but let me bring back.
Kelly Houlehan will be doing the 90-second.
Kelly, okay, great. I'll bring her in then. Thank you, guys. Let's see. Okay, there she is.
Hi, Kelly.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to give the instructions for the 90-second presentation. Imagine that you are an employee of the companies whose case you've been studying. You're in a meeting at which people are discussing the issue, but no one has brought up ethics. There is a pause in the conversation. You have 90 seconds in which to convince the other people in the meeting that there are ethical issues that need to be addressed. You don't have to argue for a solution. You just need them to see that there are serious ethical issues here. One member of the team will do this. I think for these purposes, because neither of us has seen the Turkish University present until this morning, and also with regard to the with the Minnesota case, we're employees. I think you need to clarify what our role is here. Okay, are we part of the governor's team? Are we a member of your consulting team? Because I think in these two particular cases, it does need to be spelled out a little bit more. If you could just do that. And we're going to mute CAGAN for a second, for 90 seconds or more. Okay, and Kelly, you are on.
Good morning. We've prepared as if I'm discussing with Governor Walz, the Minnesota governor himself, directing as if our judge here, Mr. Batts, as if you are the governor, and anyone else listening might be present at our meeting.
Okay, very good. Stan, you are governor.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Governor Walz, as a member of your cabinet, today I feel it is of the utmost importance that we discuss the proposed copper nickel mine that Twin Metals would like to build just 5 miles out from our precious Minnesotan wilderness area, the Boundary Waters. While the DNR is conducting a study, it ignores the ethical implications of this decision. Governor, you have the power to shut this mine down, and I urge you to consider these 2 questions. Are the risks worth it, and can we trust this company? Governor, there are enormous risks associated with opening this mine. While the company stands to make enormous profit, the community will only see a fraction of that come back through jobs and dignity, and their economy will be decimated by a boom-bust cycle. Additionally, there are numerous native species and an ecosystem that could be wiped out if the mine damages the wilderness. Secondly, can we trust this company? Twin Metals is actually a subsidiary of Antofagasta, a mining conglomerate out of Chile with a horrible reputation and character. Their flagship mine is responsible for numerous toxic spills, and they cleared historical sites to make way for a tailings dam. If this is how they treat their home, how could we trust them with ours? Governor, we have a duty to Minnesota, to the land and the people, and we cannot let Twin Metals dig 1 shovel into the land of the Boundary Waters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I will give it further consideration.
I appreciate that.
Okay, we are good. And now we're going to mute Kelly and turn on, is it Kagan or have I totally mispronounced your name?
It's actually John.
Shahan. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so there are some characters in between, but different characters.
I think you were the first male member of the METU I've ever seen in all these years.
Really?
Yes, it was known for being an all-female team, so it's nice to see a little diversity here.
Thank you.
Okay, hold
So,
on. Just
yeah. Okay.
so let's identify who you are and who we are.
Yep. So I'm the co-founder of this incubation center.
Okay.
And you are two of our stakeholders. You could be a representative from the European Union, or you could be the mayor of a town in the region. But let's say this is a stakeholder meeting and we have collected a group of stakeholders, and that is the setting.
Okay, let me just wait for, okay, you can begin now.
Hello, I'd like to take this opportunity to emphasize the ethical dimension of our project, as I believe it hasn't been given enough attention next to the financial dimension. We must keep in mind that our vision is to facilitate the social and economic integration of refugees into Turkish society. On a larger scale, we are trying to contribute to the idea of an inclusive society. In other words, our goals are actually mainly altruistic. We have a large variety of stakeholders here today, ranging from the local municipality to the European Union. During our stakeholder evaluations, we try to make sure that each stakeholder is positively affected to some degree. That is why ethical issues should be kept in mind at all times. We started this project because it is our duty to ensure that the refugees are able to enjoy their inalienable rights. Firstly, they have the right to decent work. This includes insurance, social security, workplace safety, and meaningful work. Then they have their right to freedom. True freedom cannot be achieved without financial freedom. With financial independence, they will be safe from manipulation and exploitation. They will finally be able to gain some confidence and look to the future with some hope for themselves and for their families. To conclude, I once again like to say thank you for coming here, and I'd like to mention the ethical dimension of our project is quite important. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you re-emphasizing those things and the ethical aspects that we need to take into consideration.
That's excellent. Thank you all.